We are living in a truly historical time in which many events are happening that will definitely be included in history textbooks. But if we are used to the fact that there is usually something bad behind it, like a war or a pandemic, something happened that can be called with a pure heart. A historical breakthrough and a huge step for all of humanity in general and the space sphere in particular. The rover Perseverance, or in other words Perseverance, has finally completed its journey to the surface of the red planet. Perseverance can rightly be called the heart of the NASA mission. The Miracle rover launched from the coast of Florida on a rocket Atlas V. The rover managed to carefully land in the impact crater Ezra located in the west of the Isis Planitia, the eastern edge of the Greater Syrtis. Interestingly, the crater itself was a lake even in the era when the formation of a system of river valleys took place on Mars. The very name Ezra is translated as a lake and is present in many Slavic languages such as Serbian or Slavic. Its name, which translates into Russian as persistence. The rover received thanks to a nationwide student competition. The wonderful proud name was invented by Alex Mather, then a 7th grader at Lake Breddock Middle School in Burke, Virginia. Persistence is a strong word, said Thomas Zurbuchen, Deputy Administrator of NASA's Science Mission Directorate, during the naming ceremony for the rover. It is about achieving progress despite all obstacles, and the launch of the rover itself has already become a stunning demonstration of that very perseverance and ability to overcome obstacles. I hope you remember that getting to Mars is not so easy, and it is not only about distance. There is a so-called window of opportunity, the moment when the distance between Earth and Mars is reduced to a minimum. Such windows appear only once in 26 months for a mission to Mars, so NASA was determined to get the rover off Earth on time, an already difficult task that was made even more difficult by the coronavirus pandemic, which forced them to revise the assembly and testing protocols for the equipment and the safety of the team. But you know what they did? The rover landed successfully and has even sent 2 color pictures from the surface of Mars, the first selfie of its wheel, the second of the surface of Mars, which turned out to be not so red, rather gray. Why is it so important for us? Perseverance is not the first rover to visit Mars. What is unique about it, and what is its great mission? The innovative rover was developed by NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and it is not a lie to say that this rover can be called the most advanced and modern machine that has ever been created on Earth. Its configuration is truly unique and will allow carry out very ambitious and important tasks for the subsequent exploration of Mars after a series of tests. The rover will hunt for signs of ancient life on Mars, collect and store rock samples for future return to Earth. But one of the main tasks is to prepare for the future landing of astronauts and testing methods for obtaining oxygen on Mars also. This is an improvement in landing methods, accurate determination of Martian weather, and much more. Perseverance will carefully examine the Martian rock from the rock, using various high-tech scientific instruments, including numerous spectrometers, high-resolution cameras, and ground-penetrating radar. One of the rover's 7 instruments, called SuperCam, will scan rocks with a laser and measure the composition of the resulting steam using a drill at the end of its long robotic arm. Perseverance will collect about 40 samples from particularly promising areas and seal them in special tubes. Then, this material will be delivered to Earth as part of a joint venture between NASA and the European Space Agency, possibly as early as 2031. A breakthrough innovation was also the presence in the configuration of an unmanned robotic aircraft which received the name Ingenuity, in translation Ingenuity. This drone is equipped with cameras and will carry out a reconnaissance mission, be flying around Mars and transmitting its precise and high-quality images like other NASA rovers. The 6-wheeled Perseverance is heavily modeled after its predecessor, the Curiosity rover, which landed in the Gale crater on Mars in August 2012 and is still working today, but it has amazing innovations that open up entirely new possibilities for humanity. Persistence is several inches longer than Curiosity, and her weight kg is almost 136 kilos heavier. The set of scientific instruments of the 2 rovers also differs quite significantly, but the 2 rovers have the same basic design and the same type of nuclear power source, and they use the same strategy to land safely on Red Planet. You are interested in numbers, statistics. I am sure that in a normal situation you would say no, but not in the case of unique indicators. Perseverance, a special strategy for delivering rovers to Mars, pioneered by Curiosity, sounds like something from science fiction. Perseverance entered the atmosphere of Mars at a speed of about 19,500 kilometers sin-h, and after a few minutes deployed a parachute 20.5 meters long, continuing to move faster than the speed of sound. But Martian air is only 1% denser than Earth air, so the parachute could not slow the rover down enough for a safe landing. So, Mars 2020 used a rocket-powered sky crane, which lowered the Martian vehicle to the surface on cables, and then flew off for an emergency landing at a safe distance to the joy of everyone. NASA received a message that Perseverance landed safely on February 18 at 3:55 Eastern Time. Let us remind you that this is 11:55 p.m. Moscow time, approximately 11 minutes after the landing actually took place now. That is how long it takes for signals to be transmitted from the red planet to Earth. This news caused wild celebrations at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Southern California, which manages the Mars 2020 mission. Undoubtedly, a decent dose of relief was mixed with the general excitement. Because success today was far from guaranteed for decades, only about half of the missions on the surface of Mars have successfully reached their completion, and the Perseverance landing site at the bottom of Ezra can be quite dangerous because of its rocks, sand dunes, and boulder fields. NASA specialists accomplished the almost impossible. The rover's landing ellipse was only 7.7 by 6.6 kilometers, compared to 7 at 12 kilometers. For Oxytide, Perseverance hit this target with the help of two new entry and landing technologies that it did not have at its disposal at the time. One of them, called the long-range trigger, allowed the rover to deploy its supersonic parachute at the right moment. The other technology allowed the Sky Crane, a kind of rocket backpack Perseverance, to assess the landscape of Ezra and autonomously navigate around potential hazards during descent. These landing technologies worked precisely according to plan, guiding Perseverance to a perfect landing on a safe flat part of Ezra's surface. iRover appears to have passed all the tests. Perseverance retained excellent shape, has already transmitted home the first image of its new environment. Checks of the integrity and onboard systems have not revealed. No reason for concern. Rosti at one time was created to assess the habitability of Mars. The rover found a lot of evidence that the crater gale could have supported life billions of years ago. Persistence will make the next step in this direction, according to mission members. Ezra is a great place for such work, in the crater located about 18 degrees north of the Martian equator. Long ago, there was a lake the size of Lake Tahoe, and also an ancient river delta. In addition, the Martian orbiters saw clay minerals at the bottom of the lake that form in the presence of liquid water. Remember, at the beginning of the video, we asked the question, what awaits us next? As it turns out, a lot of interesting things. Once on Earth, the samples will be studied by scientists for decades. After all, researchers are still studying the moon rocks brought back by NASA astronauts, the Apollo mission, half a century ago. Here is what Bobby Brown, director of Solar System Research at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, had to say about this at the press conference on February 17th, on the eve of landing. It is ambitious. It is a challenge. It is a scientifically based goal that we have been striving for decades, and it is now within our reach. Well, let's hope that that is exactly how it will be with Perseverance. Huge chances to go down in the history of studying Mars with many fantastic breakthroughs. Each of us has at least once heard the saying, a fish looks for where it is deeper and a person looks for where it is better. This rule applies not only to people but also to planets. Some of them are absolutely dead and desert, while others have the potential for the emergence of life. For example, our hospitable Earth. What do the chances of a planet to become comfortable for the development of life depend on, and not the custom of intelligent and highly organized forms of it? Will we ever know about the existence of alien life, or does it simply not exist and cannot exist? And the emergence of life on Earth was the result of a chain of unique accidents that are unlikely to be able to repeat on another planet. Does the location matter for the origin of life in space? We will try to figure this out today. Why on different planets have such different conditions? The surface of some is hot and saturated with toxic fumes. Others are cold, so much so that any living object getting on them would instantly turn into ice. It is obvious that in addition to the composition of the planet itself, this largely depends on the location of the planet relative to the stars, and its place in the galaxy, as well as the stars themselves near which the planet is located. The region of space located in which planets can be potentially suitable for life, is called the zone of habitability, or as it is called in the West, the zone of the Gold Crow. For us, this name is not obvious and does not create any clear reference, but we can boldly call this area the zone of Masha and the bears. After all, the English fairy tale about golden hair is an analog of our story about the girl who went to visit the bears. In both fairy tales, the heroines had Taus, some object, but each time only one of each set was in time. The rest were too big, small, hard, soft, and only something in between fit perfectly. We still haven't understood how a children's fairy tale is connected with the possibility of the origin of life on different planets directly, because for each planet exactly, it is also important to find that very place that will not be too far from the star but not too close. What other factors influence the planets? We will try to figure it out. Scientists believe that the most suitable for life may be planets located in special areas of large galaxies. These areas are called galactic habitable zone, and today we are talking about them, what such a zone is, and what mandatory conditions it assumes. The theory of the existence of the galactic habitable zone of the GZO has been criticized more than once due to the inability of scientists to fully assess the factors turning individual places of the macrocosm into potential aces of life. In addition to this, the orbit of some stars is often unstable over large periods of time, therefore the habitable zone periodically shifts. Nevertheless, such locations in space exist, and it is in one of them that we live. You and I have worked on the development of the GZO theory at different times. Many scientists, such as Harlow Shapley, Jim Clark, Ole Stucker, and many other astrophysicists, paleontologists, biologists, and astronomers. What factors contribute to the emergence of acceptable conditions in certain areas of the galaxy? The most important, as we have already said above, is location, next to the right star at the right distance, so the planet should not be located too close, so that the star does not burn the surface. Excessive radiation, as for example, happens with Mercury, to which the closest sun does not allow to form a dense atmosphere, and during the day heats the surface to almost 350 degrees Celsius. But also the planet should not be located too far from the star so as not to turn into an icy desert like Uranus and Neptune. The star itself is important, and the parties came to the conclusion that exoplanets, planets that are outside the solar system, are more likely to form near young high metal stars in composition, which contain elements heavier than helium and hydrogen. But it is important to maintain a balance. The number of elements must be balanced, otherwise, instead of Earth-like objects, giants will appear, knocking planets off their orbits and doing other atrocities. It is also very important that there are not too active supernovae near the planet, which with their spontaneous gamma-ray bursts can wipe out life from any nearby planet. Now that we have learned the main parameters of safe zones in which life can originate, you probably have a logical question. Where are these zones located, and what do they look like according to the data that scientists currently have? The galactic habitable zone is a ring-shaped region located in the center of the galactic plane, and the size of this ring can vary and change. What are these sizes? According to Research Lineweaver, dated 2004, Zone Golden Eye on the scale of the Milky Way paths, located at a distance of 4 to 10 krs from the galactic center. Other investigators cite data from 2.5 to 15 krsec, but these are not final figures, since the narrowing or expansion of the favorable sector is affected by many factors, including unpredictable space catastrophes, inevitably shaking the inky expanses of the macrocosm. What is important research? Space habitable zones, first of all, because they can provide answers to two most important questions for humanity. Is there life on other planets, and are there Earth-like planets that someday in the future can become a new home for Earthlings? These are rather complex questions because everything concerning space is rather shaky and subject to its own laws. For example, supernova explosions, which we talked about earlier, pose a danger to existing planets at the same time. Help in the formation of new ones. It is they, with their waves, spread heavy elements throughout the universe from which and can new stars and planets revolving around them will form. You yourself see how complex and subtle everything is. There are no supernovas throwing out their apocalyptic gamma bursts are bad. There will be no formation of new space objects. Supernova activity is too. Great is also bad. Any potential life on nearby planets will be destroyed. The abundance of such nuances and subtleties that can be listed for a very long time gave rise to the so-called hypothesis of a unique Earth. This is a variant of the answer to one of the eternal questions that Earthlings have been asking since they first began to explore space, and it sounds like this. Why in the universe, which is many billions of years old, has not yet found a single trace of life outside the Earth? Maybe we are really alone in the universe. The hypothesis of a unique Earth tells us that, alas, yes, it says that the very formation of the Earth in its form, which allowed the first life to originate, evolve and take intelligent forms, is a chain of such unique coincidences that it is unlikely that something like this will ever be repeated simply. According to the theory of probability in other videos, we in detail. Let's analyze this interesting, albeit slightly pessimistic theory, but for now we will only say that it has received a lot of criticism and, moreover, a large number of exoplanets discovered in the Goldilocks zone proves that we may turn out to be quite non-unique. What did scientists manage to find on March 6, 2009, the launch of Kepler, an astronomical satellite of NASA designed specifically for searching for exoplanets similar to our Earth? The satellite was equipped with a super-sensitive photometer and was created specifically for this purpose. It was designed for 3 SPONO years of work, but worked a little longer, having failed only on May 12, 2013. Kepler managed to serve mankind a lot by transmitting sensational data to scientists. So over the years of work with its help, more than 3,500 potential planets were discovered, of which more than 1,000 were confirmed by various scientific groups. Moreover, some of these planets are smaller than the Earth. Who knows what we will be able to discover on such planets if we fly to them with an exploratory mission of extraterrestrial dinosaurs and maybe even people who have not yet reached the level of space conquest. Do you think it is possible within the Milky Way, taking into account the information provided above, the existence of many extraterrestrial civilizations that simply do not care about Earthlings or have not yet reached a sufficient level of development to contact us? Z. Does the theory of the galactic habitable zone allow us to make such forecasts? What do you think about the fact that we really can be the only ones in the universe? On February 18th, the rover Perseverance successfully landed on Mars, which became a truly historic event. For Earth, the most important was the video from the rover published by NASA on February 22. Perseverance is equipped with several cameras, which made it possible to shoot from different angles. On the video, we can observe the rover's parachute approaching the soil of the red planet, the wind and clouds of sand raised by the rover. If the photographs from the rover were received almost immediately after landing, then it took much more time to transmit the video because information needs to travel millions of kilometers. Music at first glance. It is difficult for us Earthlings fed up with science fiction films and computer graphics to realize the epicness and uniqueness of this video. But this is the first recording in human history of a landing on another planet, and of such high quality. Do you realize how far we have stepped into the future? And also Mars, for the first time in history, can now be listened to. Music. Perseverance became the first rover equipped with sound recording equipment. An audio recording appeared on the SoundCloud website in NASA's account made by Perseverance, and this is already the second recording of the sounds of Mars. But if in the first, the noise of the rover itself dominated, then in the new recording all extraneous noises were maximally filtered out. Listen for yourself. Well, how did you hear the gusts of the Martian wind? But on Mars it can reach 30 m per second. NASA also published a panoramic image of Mars obtained from Perseverance, which allows you to examine in detail the Martian landscape from all sides in addition to new data. The video published by NASA also managed to throw up some mysteries. Attentive viewers paid attention to the pattern of the red and white parachute Perseverance, which was recorded by one of the cameras. At first glance, the pattern seems chaotic, but someone suspected in the pattern some encrypted hidden message and turned out to be right. The challenge was immediately accepted by internet users, and after only a few hours, the code was revealed, which the chief engineer of Perseverance confirmed on his Twitter, and the concentrated rings of the pattern was encrypted. The phrase, "There are mighty things, dog-rate things," which is the motto of the Perseverance mission, and this motto is truly prophetic, because the launch of Perseverance was a truly great event, which opens up incredible opportunities for humanity. NASA received the first reports from the rover, which say that everything works fine in the standard mode. Ignity, revolutionary drone helicopter equipped with many cameras, feels great and continues to recharge in order to soon begin reconnaissance of the area, and this means that in the near future, with its help, we will receive many amazing photos and video materials from the Red Planet. Who knows what he will be able to shoot? Maybe someday, we will get a real Google map of Mars, and we'll be able to virtually walk along the Red Planet, and maybe something really interesting like traces of alien life will get on. Camarudi, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to NAB to keep your finger on the pulse of the latest space events and not miss anything important until we meet in new videos. Look at the screenshots that now on the screen. These are statistics from YouTube. What does it mean? Notice now. 57% of viewers of this channel are watching without subscription. This is the true essence of my message to you, so in order not to miss Hubble from discharge of your subscriptions, you need to just click on this red button that looks like this and is located below this video. Law of the universe. Simple, remember. This, after all, each of your subscriptions is very important for me. The more viewers, the more often they watch, and like the faster a new mega exciting video comes out, we'll hear from you.